Linda thought she knew her daughter better than anyone, until a single DNA test shattered everything. The truth didn't just change her family. It tore apart two lives that had never even met. And what happened next made Dr. Phil stop the show cold. It began like any other taping. The hum of cameras, the whisper of an audience waiting for answers. But what no one expected was how fast the air would disappear from the room. A mother walked in holding a small, crumpled envelope. Inside it, the truth she could no longer ignore. When Dr. Phil asked her what brought her here, her eyes filled before she could speak. "I just need to know," she said, voice breaking. "Whose child have I been loving?" And then silence. Because once that envelope opened, no one in that studio would ever look at family or forgiveness the same way again. The studio lights glowed warm and golden, but the air was thick, like everyone could feel something about to break. Linda sat across from Dr. Phil, her hands locked together, knuckles white, eyes fixed on the envelope lying between them. That single piece of paper was heavier than any truth she'd ever carried. Dr. Phil leaned forward, calm but focused. "Linda," he said softly, "you told our producers there's something you need to confront, something about your daughter." She nodded, barely breathing. I thought it was a mistake," she whispered. "A computer error. But I can't unsee what I saw." The audience leaned in. Even the crew seemed frozen. You could hear the faint buzz of the lights above. It was that quiet. Dr. Phil gave a small nod. "Take your time. Tell me what happened." Linda swallowed hard. "It started with a DNA kit," she said. "My sister sent it to me as a joke. Just one of those ancestry things people do online. She said, 'Let's see where we're from.' I thought it'd be fun." She gave a short, nervous laugh that died quickly. "But when I got the results, they didn't match my daughter's. Not even close." Dr. Phil's eyes softened, but his tone stayed steady. "You're saying your DNA and your daughter's didn't show a relationship?" Her voice cracked. "They said she wasn't mine, that we had no genetic link." She wiped her eyes with a trembling hand. "I've raised her for 17 years. I know her laugh, her heartbeat, every word she says when she's scared. But that paper," she gestured to the envelope. "That paper said I didn't." The camera cut to the audience, tears already forming in the front row. A mother covering her mouth. A father shaking his head in disbelief. Dr. Phil paused for a moment, then asked, "So what's in that envelope, Linda?" Linda looked down, hesitant. "This is the confirmation from the lab," she said quietly. "I did it twice. I didn't want to believe the first one." She opened the flaps slowly, like peeling open a wound. The soft tear of paper echoed through the set. She unfolded the document, eyes scanning each line, even though she already knew what it said. Her breathing quickened. Then suddenly, she gasped, sharp and broken. "This isn't possible," she whispered. Dr. Phil froze. The audience held their breath. "What does it say, Linda?" he asked. Her voice trembled as she read. "Emily Roberts, not a biological match. Probable hospital birth error." The words hung in the air like smoke. A family's reality, undone in seconds. For a long time, nobody spoke. Dr. Phil sat back, hands folded, letting the gravity settle. "I can't imagine what that moment felt like," he finally said. Linda's tears streamed freely now. "I looked at her the next morning, making breakfast, smiling, just being my kid, and all I could think was, who is she really?" The camera zoomed in, her eyes red, exhausted, lost. "And if she's not mine," she whispered, "where's my real daughter?" The studio went silent again. The narrator's voice breaks in gently. Calm, empathetic, steady. The results didn't just show a mismatch. They showed a swap. Somewhere, another mother was living a lie she didn't know existed. And soon, both would face the truth under the lights of this stage. Because love can't be measured in DNA, but truth always finds a way to break through. What would you do if a single envelope could erase the life you've built? 3 weeks before that studio moment, before the tears and the truth, life looked simple. The morning sun spilled through the kitchen window, catching the dust in the air as Linda flipped pancakes for her daughter, Emily. The sound of laughter mixed with the smell of coffee and syrup. It was a normal morning, one of those you never realize you'll miss until it's gone. "Don't burn them this time," Emily teased, grinning as she scrolled through her phone. She was 17, bright-eyed, already accepted into college, full of plans and confidence. Linda smiled. "Hey, I only burned yours last time," she joked back. They laughed, a real mother-daughter kind of laugh. The kind that comes from years of shared inside jokes, silent comfort, and bedtime talks. Everything about their life screamed normal. Until the phone rang. It was Linda's sister, Carrie, loud, cheerful, always full of new ideas. "Hey, guess what? I just did one of those DNA ancestry tests," she said. "You should do it too. We can see if we've got Viking blood or something." Linda chuckled, amused. "Sure, why not? Could be fun." That night, Linda ordered the kit. Just a bit of fun. Just curiosity. That's how these stories always begin, with something small, harmless, innocent. Weeks later, the results came in. It was late. Emily was asleep. Linda sat at the kitchen counter, her laptop glowing in the dark. She clicked View Results. At first, she smiled at the list, English, Irish, a bit of Scandinavian. Then her eyes drifted down to a section labeled Family Matches. She blinked. Her sister was there. But under immediate family, nothing. No daughter. Emily Roberts. Confused, she refreshed the page. Then again. Still nothing. "Maybe it's a glitch," she murmured, heart beating faster. She double-checked Emily's profile. Emily's DNA kit. She'd done 1-2 for her biology class last year. Linda typed in her daughter's kit number and cross-checked manually. The message popped up in bold red text. No genetic relation found. Probability of parentage, 0%. The cursor blinked at her like an accusation. Linda stared at the screen, the edges of her vision blurring. Her breath caught. No, that can't be right. She shut the laptop, almost angry. "These things mess up all the time," she said aloud, trying to convince herself. But sleep didn't come that night. Every time she closed her eyes, the words flashed back. 0%. By the next morning, she'd rationalized it. Maybe a lab error. Maybe the samples got swapped. It happens, right? She laughed it off to Emily over breakfast. "Guess those kits aren't that accurate after all," she said. Emily laughed too, not noticing how forced her mother's smile was. But Linda couldn't let it go. She started digging, quietly. At first, just a few calls to the testing company, to her doctor, then to the hospital where Emily was born. She didn't tell anyone. She couldn't. Each time, she rehearsed what she'd say, then change her mind at the last second. The hospital records were old, archived, but something about the nurse's tone when she said, "That's strange," made Linda's stomach twist. That night, she sat on the edge of her bed, holding an old baby photo. Emily, wrapped in a pink blanket, her tiny hand gripping Linda's finger. She whispered to the picture, "You're mine. I know you're mine." But deep down, something in her voice cracked. Days turned into restless nights. She compared baby photos, the nose, the eyes, the tiny birthmark behind Emily's ear. Everything fit. But once you see doubt, you can't unsee it. She called the hospital again. This time, more direct. "I need copies of all birth records from April 3rd, 2006, she said, her voice trembling. The nurse hesitated. "That was a busy night," she said. "We had a few overlapping deliveries." "I'll check." And that word, few, stayed with Linda all day. She sat in her car outside the grocery store, gripping the steering wheel, mind spinning. Could there have been another baby that night? Another mother, just like her? When Emily came home, Linda tried to act normal. She smiled, asked about school, laughed at her jokes. But her laughter was hollow now. Emily noticed. "Mom, are you okay?" she asked. Linda hesitated. "Yeah, just tired," she lied. But inside, her world was beginning to tilt. Because once doubt enters a mother's heart, it spreads like ink through water. Impossible to contain, impossible to erase. The narrator's voice slips in, gentle and foreboding. It was supposed to be a family bonding game, not a bomb. The numbers didn't lie, but could she believe them? Because what Linda was about to uncover would not only prove the results true, it would reveal a secret buried for 17 years. When does curiosity stop being innocent and start becoming a truth you wish you'd never found? To be continued. The next morning, the sky hung low and gray. The kind of day that feels like it's warning you. Linda sat in her car outside the old county hospital, gripping the steering wheel until her fingers went white. The windshield was streaked with rain, each drop blurring the reflection of her own face. She whispered to herself, "You're just checking a record. That's all. Nothing more." But deep down, she knew this wasn't a check. It was a reckoning. Inside, the hospital smelled like bleach and time. The clerk at the records office, a woman with kind eyes and tired hands, took Linda's request and disappeared into the back room. Minutes ticked by. Linda's heart pounded so hard she could hear it. Then, the clerk returned with a thin folder, barely a few pages. "There was a paperwork issue that night," the woman said quietly. "2 babies, same hour, same nurse rotation. It looks like a name was corrected after discharge." Linda froze. "A name?" The clerk hesitated, eyes flicking up. "We're not supposed to share this, but I know what it's like to be a mom." She slid a photocopy across the counter. "This might help." Linda's hand shook as she looked down. A single name jumped out from the page, Teresa Collins. Another mother. Same birth date. Same delivery time. For a long second, Linda couldn't breathe. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Another baby girl?" The clerk nodded. Linda stepped outside, the cold air hitting her like a wall. Her pulse raced. Somewhere out there was another child, the one she was meant to raise. She drove home in silence, headlights cutting through the rain. The world outside blurred, her thoughts louder than the storm. By the time she pulled into her driveway, she was already searching the name on her phone. Teresa Collins, Springfield, Missouri. Dozens of results. None seemed right. Then a profile popped up. Hannah Collins, 17, loves art, lives in Missouri. Linda's thumb hovered over the photo. A girl smiling under a tree, paintbrush in hand, freckles scattered across her nose. The air left Linda's lungs. Because those eyes, those were hers. Her own eyes staring back at her through a stranger's face. She clicked through more pictures, birthdays, school plays, family outings. The more she looked, the deeper the ache grew. She whispered to herself, "That's her, that's my daughter." But just as quickly, the guilt came. What about Emily? Her sweet, loving Emily. The girl who'd grown up in her arms, who still called her mom with warmth in her voice. She put the phone down and pressed her hands over her face. "What do I do?" she cried. Days passed in a haze. Linda went through the motions, cooking dinner, folding laundry, pretending nothing was wrong. But every glance at Emily felt heavier. Every laugh came with a sting of guilt. The secret was eating her alive. One evening, as Emily studied at the kitchen table, Linda's phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. "The hospital's administrative office. We reviewed your records. It appears there was a misfiled patient ID from your delivery date. Please contact us immediately." Her heart stopped. She excused herself, stepping out to the porch as her hands shook dialing the number. The voice on the other end confirmed what she already feared. 2 infants, 2 wristbands, 1 error. Her voice broke. "So, my daughter, she isn't biologically mine?" The line went quiet. Then, "It's possible, ma'am. We're deeply sorry." Linda hung up, staring out into the dark. Across the street, a neighbor's porch light flickered. The world felt suddenly smaller, colder, unfamiliar. She whispered to herself, "There's another mother out there living my life, and she doesn't even know it." That night, Linda couldn't sleep. She sat on the couch, scrolling through Hannah's photos again. The smile, the gestures, the spark in her eyes. It felt like watching a ghost of a life that never happened. Finally, with trembling fingers, she opened the message box. She typed slowly, "My name is Linda Roberts. I think there's something important we need to talk about. It's about your daughter, Hannah." Her thumb hovered over send. Her breath hitched, and then she pressed it. The screen went black for a moment, and just like that, 2 families were now tied by one message. The narrator's voice returns, steady and solemn. It wasn't just a name. It was a mirror. The moment she hit send, 2 worlds that were never meant to cross began to collide. What Linda didn't know yet was that the truth was already on its way to find her. Would you risk breaking one life to finally reclaim the one you lost? To be continued. Backstage, the air is thick with nerves. The hum of studio lights buzzes above, and muffled whispers ripple through the crew. Two mothers, two lives, one truth waiting to explode. Linda sits in the green room, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her face looks different now, older, haunted. Next to her, a glass of water trembles in her shaking hand. She hasn't slept in 2 nights. Across the hall, another woman paces in silence, Teresa Collins, Hannah's mother. The producers whisper, preparing both families. The plan is simple. They'll meet on stage for the first time, in front of Dr. Phil and millions of viewers. But nothing about this moment feels simple. Dr. Phil steps backstage briefly. His tone is steady, compassionate. "This is going to be hard," he says, "but I want both of you to focus on what matters, your daughters, not your anger. The truth has to come out, but it doesn't have to destroy you." Linda nods, barely able to speak. "I just want to see her," she whispers. Moments later, the stage lights come up. The audience goes quiet. Dr. Phil walks out, addressing the crowd. Today's story is one that challenges everything we believe about love, identity, and family. 2 mothers, 1 truth, and no one walks away unchanged. He turns toward the backstage door. "Let's welcome Linda and Teresa." The applause fades fast. Both women step out slowly, unsure of how to exist in the same frame. Linda looks at Teresa, the woman who unknowingly raised her real daughter. Teresa's face is kind but guarded. You can see the disbelief in her eyes, the exhaustion from sleepless nights since Linda's message. They sit across from each other. For a few seconds, no one speaks. The silence is so deep, it hums. Finally, Dr. Phil breaks it. "Linda, you reached out first. What made you take that step?" Linda exhales shakily. "I saw her picture," she says, voice trembling. "Hannah, and I just knew." The way she smiled, the way her eyes looked, they were mine. It didn't feel like seeing a stranger. It felt like seeing my child. Teresa nods slowly, tears building. "When I got that message, I thought it was a scam. But then I looked you up. I saw Emily's photo, and my heart just stopped, because she looked like my sister, like my mother. I knew, before any test, that something wasn't right." The audience watches silently, every breath timed, every word heavy. Dr. Phil turns to both of them. "You've both taken DNA tests. The results are back. And yes, the hospital made a mistake 17 years ago." Both women inhale sharply. Tears fall. Teresa covers her mouth. Linda bows her head, whispering, "I knew it." Dr. Phil leans forward. "You've both raised wonderful daughters. But I know you're each wondering the same thing. What now?" The mothers exchange glances, the first real connection between them. Linda speaks first, voice breaking. "I don't want to take Hannah away from you. I just want to know her, to see her, to tell her she's loved." Teresa nods through tears. "And I don't want to hurt Emily. She's your little girl, no matter what that paper says. But I can't stop thinking, all those first steps, first birthdays, they weren't mine." The pain is mirrored on both faces. Dr. Phil gives him a moment before saying softly, "Sometimes doing what's right doesn't feel fair. But truth doesn't erase love. It just asks you to share it differently." The stage door opens quietly. 2 teenage girls step out, Emily and Hannah. The air thickens again. Linda gasps when she sees Hannah up close. Teresa clutches her chest when Emily smiles. The resemblance is undeniable, like a cruel reflection, 2 halves of one story. The girls sit down beside their mothers, tense and wide-eyed. Emily looks at Linda. "Mom, is it true?" Linda swallows hard. "Yes, sweetheart. But no test can tell me who my daughter is." "You are." Hannah looks down, whispering, "I don't know who I'm supposed to be anymore. Dora feels tonisofens. You're both exactly who you've always been, loved, wanted, and enough. What's changing now is how your stories meet." The 4 of them sit in silence. Then, Linda reaches out a hand toward Teresa. For a long second, Teresa hesitates, then takes it. The audience exhales. Dr. Phil leans in slightly, his voice deep and thoughtful. "If love isn't written in DNA, then where does it live?" No one answers. They don't have to. The tears say everything. The narrator's voice cuts in. calm and reflective. When science tests love, only the heart knows the truth. Two mothers, one reality. Neither guilty, neither whole. But in this moment, forgiveness is the only bridge left standing. The scene fades, Dr. Phil standing between them, a quiet anchor in the storm. Can you lose a child who was never really yours to begin with? Or were they yours in every way that mattered? To be continued. Weeks have passed since the taping, but for both families, time feels strange. Slow, heavy, like the world is trying to rebuild itself after an earthquake. The story went viral overnight. Millions of views, millions of opinions. But away from the headlines, behind closed doors, there's something deeper happening. Two families trying to stitch together the torn fabric of their lives. Linda sits in a quiet park, a thermos of coffee in her hands. Across from her, Teresa arrives. No cameras, no stage lights, just two mothers sharing the same weight. They've met like this every week since the show. At first, it was awkward. Every word careful, every silence sharp. But now it feels like a rhythm, a ritual. They talk about the girls, how Emily is adjusting to college visits, how Hannah is painting again. Small, ordinary details that sound miraculous now. I thought I'd lose her, Linda says softly. Both of them, honestly. I thought the truth would take everything from me. Teresa nods. Me too. But maybe it didn't take. Maybe it just changed the shape of love. For a long time, they sit in silence, listening to the sound of kids playing in the distance. There's a peace here that wasn't possible before. Cut to Emily and Hannah, sitting together at a coffee shop. Two girls who once lived completely separate lives, now sharing fries and stories. Each one realizing how much they have in common. The same laugh, the same stubborn streak, even the same taste in music. It's weird, Hannah says, smiling nervously. I thought meeting you would make everything more complicated, but it actually makes me feel calmer. Like I know who I am now. Emily nods. Yeah, I used to think being someone's daughter was about who gave birth to you. But now, I think it's about who shows up. The moment is quiet, but powerful. A small truth that feels bigger than the DNA that tore them apart. Back at home, Linda opens a letter. It's from Hannah. Her hands tremble as she reads it aloud. Dear Linda, I don't know what I'm supposed to call you yet, but I do know this. I'm glad you found me. You didn't steal me, and you didn't lose me. You love someone with your whole heart. And now that love gets to grow. Love, Hannah. Tears spill down Linda's cheeks. She folds the letter gently, holding it like a treasure. Later that week, both families meet at a lakeside park. The cameras are gone now. Just laughter, sunlight, and the smell of grilled food in the air. Emily tosses a frisbee to Hannah. Their fathers chat near the water. Linda and Teresa sit on a blanket, watching the scene unfold. For the first time, no one looks broken. No one looks lost. Dr. Phil's voice echoes over the closing images, reflective and sincere. Sometimes truth destroys comfort, but it builds something stronger, connection. These two families didn't ask for this pain, but they faced it with honesty, courage, and grace. And in doing so, they showed us something powerful, that love doesn't end when the truth arrives, it expands. As the sun sets, the girls run toward the water, laughing, their reflections rippling side by side, not divided by blood, but joined by choice. Linda turns to Teresa and smiles softly. Maybe love was never switched at all. The narrator's tone softens into a quiet close. Forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's remembering differently. Two families, one heart. The truth hurt, but it healed. If knowing the truth could cost you everything, would you still want to know it? If this story moved you, take a moment to reflect. Sometimes, the truth doesn't break us, it remakes us. Share this video with someone who believes family is only about blood. And remember, love is the one thing science can never measure.